And onegaishimasu, welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. I'm going to train by myself. So we're in year 18 now of doing Goju. Did my third dan 2 years ago. So I'm working towards my fourth dan. Done my instructor's grading, which is third dan in our federation. If you see me getting sloppy, you can point it out in the comments. I know. This is a long road of recovery postpartum. My second son now is 8 months old. And I'm dealing with how my body changed. And it's still changing. And whether I will ever really look like a real karate woman, not that there's many to look up to. I guess there's Sandra Sanchez and Riku Usami, who have a genetic ability I don't have. I guess what I can really hope for is to demonstrate to my female students that being strong is more important than being aesthetically pleasing. Karate isn't really about looking good. It's about doing good and being strong, and whatever that means to you. Because it means different things to different people. And I know that as much as I might complain about my abilities, I'm doing a lot better than someone who has disabilities that stop them from training. Let's do this from the side. So, there's a South African instructor called Stuart Booth. There was a hijacking that went wrong. He was shot. He's now in a wheelchair. Can't really teach karate like he wants to ever again. Still teaches though. You have to admire that. This is our dojo's paperclip. It's our lightest Kongoken, about 14 kilograms. I don't know what that is in pounds. Americans, I'll put it on the screen when I edit. So, this I've got to concentrate, because if I make a mistake, I'm going to hurt myself. And 9 and 10. Whew. Now, that feels like a workout. I was in part inspired to do a video like this because of Sensei Michelle Enfield at GKC Goju. There's a video of her training, and she's older than me, but it occurred to me that all the women I've seen on YouTube doing karate, all that very polished WKF kind of look. It was nice to see a woman who wasn't a competitive athlete doing karate, like normal women do karate. So if she ever sees this, Sensei Michelle, you're an inspiration to me. As a knowledge worker, I have to be so careful when I do Makiwara, because doing it wrong and making a silly mistake could mean not being able to do my job. Whether that's teaching, mothering, YouTubing, I have to take good care of my hands. As you can tell, I'm not left-handed. You know, I'm under no illusions anymore. as to what does well on our YouTube channel. I know our channel would do a lot better if we did more clickbaity stuff. And probably if I trained without a gi jacket on and appealed to the lowest common denominator. But if you're still watching, I know that's why you're not here. Why you're still here. It's because you appreciate authenticity, even if it doesn't make for splashy content. I think this is one of Shay's homemade covers. This is a Sharedo cover. Our Makiwara range in difficulty. So this is our second nicest one. Give my muscles a little bit of a break. I like to work on my reaction and my timing. So something I learned on a random Monday morning instructor's class with Sensei Mario. The goal is to get your hand all the way from chamber to the beanbag and back. So, I'm not going to call these bloopers because they're part of training, and I'd be lying if I made it look like I got it right every time. It's always that left hand. But it's also important to have some fun in your training. Otherwise you end up like Jack in The Shining. Anyway, if you don't have beanbags in your dojo, you can do this with a pair of socks. Does the same thing. So when I first started training seriously as an instructor back in 2015, one of the things that was a recurring joke amongst my fellow instructors, all of whom at the time were male, barring one, was that my kicks were abysmal. So I started a whole bunch of exercises designed to improve my flexibility and my muscle training, and this is one of them. It's based on an Ishi-sashi exercise. I'm just using a 3 kg kettlebell, the banana handle, so I can fit my foot in. If you want to make your own Ishi-sashi, I will put a link to Sensei Michael Clark's book that will help you with making your own equipment. So from here, I lift my hands, lift my foot, and slowly put my leg back down. And up. Oh. There is a risk falling over and hurting myself, but it is what it is. Ideally, you should be aiming for Kansetsugeri here. As you can see, obviously my right leg's a little bit stronger than my left. Oh, quick stretch. Don't want to bore you to death with doing more of those. But what I will do, it's my favorite of all the Hojo Undo implements, is the Chishi. This is a 2.5 kg. And my goal is, once I've got this down super pat, to move on to our dojo's 4 kg. And by the time we have an Okinawan instructor visit, at the end of the year, be able to use a 5 kg. Maybe if I put it out on YouTube, I can be held accountable for it. As you can see, this hand is significantly weaker. And it's better to hold the weight properly and do the exercise carefully than showing off. something I invented for myself, probably been simultaneously invented by a bunch of other people. It's kind of like clock one. Muhammad Ali had two great quotes. I hated training, but I wanted to be a champion, so I got through the pain of training. And the other one is I only start counting when it starts hurting. It's good advice for Hojo Undo. I guess I'm always in the habit of rushing my personal training because at any minute I could get called away. Right now, baby's with my mother-in-law. Shay is cleaning chimneys, which is why you're getting a video from me this week. And I'm always like, oh, baby's going to wake up any minute now. Train, train, train. Fast, fast, fast. And I guess one of the things about parenting, it gives you much more respect for your time. You spend a lot less time faffing about and getting on with it. I love showing off my tattoos. I think that's also one of the things I often struggle with, is this idea of what a good girl looks like. And I know that most of my family don't really like my tattoos. But one of the reasons I like my tattoos is because for once I did what I wanted to do. Instead of being the dutiful firstborn and nice, clean sensei, perfect person, makes no mistakes, and is about as interesting as a teaspoon, my tattoos mean something to me, and they're part of my identity. It doesn't seem to affect how much people trust me with their kids. So there's that. But I'm seeing more and more parents and more women with tattoos. So I think that's changing. And I think the other thing we inherit in part in karate from the Japanese is that they view tattoos as a criminal thing. That's how they got started. It was a branding thing for criminals and prostitutes. And part of that is spilled over with the Yakuza. And I noticed when I was in Japan in 2019 that there were some beaches I couldn't go to without covering up. And I know when we next go again that I won't be able to go to the bathhouses with Shay because he has not even one tattoo. And yeah, that sucks, but also the Japanese are within their rights to have these cultural norms. So do my tattoos exclude me from that part of Japanese culture and experience? Yeah, they do. On our first Gashku, I actually covered up my tattoos the first day with skin color plasters as much as I could. Then I noticed most of the other Westerners weren't doing the same thing, and the instructors didn't seem to mind. So after that I just kind of wore them, and they were much smaller than they are now. They were much smaller tattoos. They were very small, the ones on my hands, on my arms. So I think, yeah, maybe next time when I go it won't be the case. I know something super traditional we can use while I continue my musings. Easiest thing you can have for your own training at home, something you can do if you set a timer, only a minute or so at a time, because otherwise your forearms feel like there's a dying star lodged in them. From here, wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. And release. Don't drop it on your toes. Change the other way. Whoa. It's definitely easier curling away than into my hands. So we do something called a welcoming ceremony in our dojo. Whenever I do it with the girls, I always have a slightly different speech for them. So 95% of the people that we tie white belts on aren't going to make it. They won't to black belt. I've discussed this in more detail in my other videos about kids and karate. Yes, that's all. But with girls, there's a whole bunch of different things that we have to deal with. Our physical changes are huge. I had a girl the other day who unfortunately got her period just as dojo was starting, and luckily we keep things on hand for this. But I thought, how cruel it is that we have to train in white, because one instructor, who I won't mention because, ooh, blasphemy, said that wearing black is dirty and only Westerners wear black. Meanwhile, they never had to think about girls and periods, and how much more comfortable we would feel if we could train in black and not have to worry about these things. So this poor girl, I lent her one of my black gi pants, as I have black even though I'm not supposed to. It just further reinforces that there's things that are kind of a form of gatekeeping, unintentionally or not, in karate. And period issues and physical change in terms of breasts and all of that, oh, watch me get demonetized, are things that are close to my heart. So one of the things I hope in making this video, that will probably have one of the worst drop-off rates, but it's a video that I want to make, and sometimes that's more important than doing what the algorithm tells me to, is that I want girls to see that there is a future for them in karate, that there's a place for them in karate, and that they're not alone, and that it's not just me, but there are lots of... I'm here in part because I had a male instructor who believed in me at Rhodes, and a great male senpai called John, and friends who are still my friends today, like Thomas and Monica, who formed a large part of me staying in karate. And I think we also have to remind ourselves that karate is a place for friendship. That no matter how often federations and politics and everything might try to pull us all apart all over the world, and we've seen this recently with some big splits, the important thing to remember is that we all want to do karate together. And fretting over who's who and which is the correct way to finish sensei ryu, and whether you should bow with your hands here or here, are all just little things designed to keep us from fighting each other, or designed to keep us fighting each other rather than questioning larger karate power structures. Oh, that might be a bit controversial, and whether I leave it in the edit or not, we'll see. Oh, I think that's enough of that. My forearms feel like they're about to catch fire. And lastly, a little bit of stretching before I sign off for the day. Some of my favorite stretches. Like I mentioned earlier, my kicks were not great, so these are some of the stretches Shay gave me. Toes pointing to the wall, using a belt. Get that knee up to a flat surface, like I'm trying to turn my leg into a table. And then from here, using this belt to stabilize the kick. This is how you get students to do a roundhouse kick without doing the swinging motion or that downward kicking motion. Even just holding the stretch. The bottom leg's getting strength training. You can even bop a little controlled quarter of a pistol squat. Get that knee up and stretch. Push through the heel to change the stretch. Push through the toes, heel, toe, or even just hang out here, stretching that hip flexor. I wonder why people think you need to be able to do splits to do karate. Splits are for gymnastics and ballet. I see they even still advertise those stretches. But I worry that it makes karate look like it's only for very fit people. You know, the number of emails I get when people are like, oh, I'm so unfit, how can I start karate? It's like wait until you're smart or that you can read until you start school. Fitness is important, but it's not that important. It's not more important than the content or your character as a person. And there are a lot of people who are very fit and very good at karate that are abysmal people, so it really isn't that important. It's like those random pictures of Taekwondo girls kicking the roof. You only have to kick someone in the head. You don't have to kick the roof. Stretch all the way back to the butt. And that, I think, is enough musing from me. Wherever you are in the world, if you're South African, if you're American, Indian, UK, Canada, Australia, or any other demographics that make up our channel, thank you for hanging out with me while I train, muse a little bit, share some of my thoughts, and I hope that if this video doesn't inspire you, that's okay. I hope it just gave you a little bit of insight into my life as karate mom, as sensei, karate wife, dojo owner, and a basic baby third dad. Hi, thank you so much for your time. Arigatou gozaimasu.